Our first storyteller today is Dr. Gail Meyers. Dr. Gail Meyers, born in Daytona Beach, Florida, is an agricultural anthropologist and urban farmer. In 2004, Dr. Meyers co-founded Farms to Grow in Oakland, in California, to work in partnership with African-American farmers and ranchers and other under-resourced producers. Farms to Grow initiated the Freedom Farmers Market, an African-American farmers market, which is in West Oakland, and it began in 2013. Dr. Gail maintains a wide spectrum of grassroots organizing and coalition building locally, regionally, and globally. In 2018, she received the Advocate for Social Justice Award, Justy, from the Eco Farm Association. And her upcoming documentary, which is a multimedia film and project, is called Rhythms of the Land. It's currently in post-production, and you can learn more about it at rhythmsoftheland.com. Dr. Gail Meyers is passionate about the legacy of Black farmers, Black agrarian material culture, and racial equity. And with that, Dr. Meyers, will you share with us your story?
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you. I was born in Daytona Beach, Florida. I remember going to elementary school 3 years before integration. My mom's father migrated to Daytona Beach from Dothan, Alabama. And my dad and his family migrated from Yamasee, South Carolina. You see, my dad came to Daytona Beach because he had dreams of racing in the Daytona Speedway. My dad loved riding motorcycles and became a stunt motorcycle racer. Eventually, he was one of the first Black men to race on his motorcycle at the Daytona Speedway in 1964. The same year, he helped to integrate the Speedway in 1964. Months later, one night, a drunk driver hit my dad on his motorcycle, and my dad died from his injuries that night in the hospital. At 7 years old, at his funeral, my grandmother held me as I cried. My grandmother was the love of my life. She was the first person that I knew who grew her own food. And she had friends on her block, and they all grew their own food. They had plum trees, chickens, sugarcane patches, rows of green beans, peas, corn. Those were familiar sights for me that I took for granted until I started my own garden 30 years later. Life for me, several years after my father died, was filled with days after school and weekends at my grandmother's house. On Sunday, my mom and my 3 sisters went to church, where Gamma and my mom were in the choir. And it was in our church where I learned how to be in community. There were the elder ladies in the church and the other women who were oftentimes themselves school teachers that took extra time to come to our house and teach me reciting and how to speak in public. These women from our church, my grandmother, my mom, all conveyed to me in no uncertain terms how important it was to be in community. And from Gamma, I learned that love and tears are some of the strongest medicine. Gamma died of cancer in 1988. The feeling that I had after she passed was I just wanted to take off running so fast to get away from these feelings of loss. When I left the hospital in that moment, it seemed like I felt the loss of my father and my grandmother compounded. My entire body felt an emptiness of something missing. Something was missing in my heart, my grandmother. It took years for the tears to stop. And yes, I still grieve that personal loss, but I also celebrate today. When I began interviewing Black farmers in 1997, I had no idea that I would be eventually grieving the collective community loss of land that Black farmers had experienced. From the first 3 months of interviewing Black farmers in Ohio, I cried driving home from those interviews, each one. I cried for them, these farmers, for their constant loss. I grieve each time for the people that they mention in their stories. Yet I felt the love and triumph in these stories. So upon graduating from the Ohio State University, I knew I had to do something, just do something. Perhaps activating this grieving, doing something was all that I could do. And that's the time when I started Farms to Grow in 2004. Then in 2009, something really instinctual happened to me when I planted my first garden. I mean, when I was on the farms working and walking with these farmers, I felt this connection to the land. But eventually, it was when I started my own garden that I began to understand and connect that to my grandmother and her garden. It was during COVID that it became viscerally clear to me when I planted my fourth garden, the one that really saved my sanity. It was during the earlier months of the pandemic in the spring of 2020, when everything just shut down, people were dying everywhere. I unearthed the grass in a small sunny section in the backyard. I brought in new soil, built the border from the found objects around the yard. I prepared the beds, the rows, and planted the starters. I felt the watchful eyes of Gamma, and I felt her hands on mine. It was a feeling that I had come to understand and become familiar with, but I didn't relate it to how my grandmother lives through me, through my gardens, and through the memories of her gardens. And the farmers and the gardeners that I've interviewed and worked with through the years, although I grieved for them, they conquered too. You see, we used the medicine we had to fill the void for the loss. For me, it was the building of my own garden. That was my medicine. And I imagine for my grandmother, her garden filled a void too. Whenever I plant my gardens, I always name them Gamma's Garden. Thank you.